Emigration. How good to escape the stifling houses where one crushes the other, to come to a foreign country where streets are broader, more luminous. These small gables, dead gardens spoiled by rain, these heavily locked doors full of humility, no. Better to take a ship or a plane and never return. The second poem is called Condominium, Eigenheim. Drahtverhau und Gitterfenster sind fest in mir gefügt. Alle Verbindungen sind von Geburt an hergestellt. Wer kommen wollte, mich zu entlarven, müsste ein Gott sein. Ich bin im richtigen Alter durchgekrochen, um mich selbst gefangen zu setzen. Ich bin vor dem bösen Lächeln meiner Feinde geschützt. The barbed wire and latticed window are firmly established in me. All linkages have been secured from birth. Only a God could unmask me. I crawled through to take myself prisoner at the right age. I am well protected against my enemies' malicious smiles. I come to my English poetry now. There are 4 collections, all of them unpublished, actually, for some individual poems. The first is called Tremblings, the second is called Untold Harmonies, the third is called Carmen Poems, and the fourth is called Renewal by Fire. I begin with Tremblings, and the first poem there is called Today. I have a day, a whole day. What a long time. It will come, it will go, only a day, a single day. If I could play as God did, careless and carefree for 7 days, if I could see the completion he saw only once, I have a full day, a single day, too little to live for, too much not to live. The next poem is called Evening in Linz. Linz is an Austrian city to which Hitler intended to retire, and as you know, he never got a chance to do so. Grace of chandeliers, curved mirrors, painted furniture at Wolfinger's, 8 o'clock, Pentecost. Across my window, the green onion sits on an ochre shaft of the tower at Hauptplatz, with a penetrating golden tip. Slow at first, the movement consoles me for long absences, with fingers bent into myself, as if Maria from the nearby Schlosskirche had taken pity on me. To Austria Nube. As the light fades, a narrow black flag bulges against the sky in a gesture of horror, soothed only by the sobbing pink of my windowsill geraniums. The tower beats 9. Over distant hills, beyond the Danube, an unknown hand rises, stretching a silky moon over the gently won landscape of my hips, to resurrect me as a woman in my sleep. So I'm making the jump across the Atlantic to July Garden, a poem that actually won first prize 2 years ago. July Garden. Here, where oak marries with rhododendron, we joined our lives in a garden full of laughter, going back and forth between our glances and the roses beyond. As then, the sun designs Belgian lace on the lawn, marrying light to shade. Wind-blown memories link us to trees as tall as our hopes. The balloons are gone. Blue vats that once held wine bottles are filled with rainwater graced by a sheen of pollen. A single red geranium radiates from the backyard window. The guests who celebrated us have turned into robins, spreading their song in a sly breeze that vacillates between holding on and letting go. A bond that only elves could have woven at the border of night and day is shattered now. Can I say it was? When the roses turn the other way as I look at them? This morning, men came to cut down oak branches overhanging the roof. Their shade has moved inside. Not even the house believes the marriage ever happened. I come to icons. Standing in the doorway, a little stooped like a question mark, you welcome me with a baby in your arms, smiling. I carry the question around with me to protect us from vile images of mothers separated from their infants, from their men, to be shot, to be buried in mass graves, under the precision of machine gun fire in Litzmannstadt, a few years before you were born. I am casting a shadow over you, wearing my long black coat with its collar up, hiding a blood-red scarf, as if asking for sacrifices to save the Reich. I have no words for the nightmares your smile shields me from, leaving the answer opened like a door to be re-entered on future evenings. I cannot weep with you, since you wouldn't believe I witnessed ghetto scenes in your house. Perhaps you would call me a killer, a helper of the Gestapo like Oshkovsky. I'm a child who survived the perpetrators. In place of answers, I hold fragile icons against storms of the past in my hands, praying they will speak for me.
So I'm going to start, and my poems are not happy poems, but I will finish with two funny ones that I've written. The first one is called Where Shepherds No Longer Play, and my sister's first husband, who died of cancer, and my sister has died too, but this is really about his mother, and it's a factual event. She rode the bus to Tel Aviv twice a week to get to market. Not a long ride, maybe 40 minutes, but in those days dangerous because ambushers hid behind rocks where shepherds once rested their flocks and David composed his psalms. In the heat of the summer, as relentless as killers who stalk their human prey among the rocks where shepherds no longer play. The gunshots sounded and echoed among the rocks where shepherds once played their harps, the music of God. On that day, bullets were the only song, and she died to the tune. I was telling Otto before, when my mother died, I found a bunch of books. Actually, she loved to read detective books. So I was taking all the detective books out of the shelves, and behind them were all these poetry books. And most of them were in German. She was originally from Prussia, and before it was part of Germany. And I found a number of books written in German, but they were in Gothic, as I told Otto, and I gave them to the Goethe Institute because I couldn't read them. But she also had a number of books that were English translations of the German. And one of them was by the Nobel Prize laureate Nelly Sachs. And Nelly Sachs wrote a poem called Oh the Chimneys. And it moved me to the extent that I wrote one called Oh the Boxcars. Oh, the boxcars, filled with Jews like sheep shunted off to camps, filled with the smell of sweat, the smell of fear, the smell of death, filled with the dying, the soon to die, filled with grandparents, parents, children, all carrying what they could in one suitcase. Oh, the boxcars filled with human sheep, the end of the tracks, more than a shearing, with little bleeding at a quiet ending, a noise ending, no one cares. Oh, the boxcars, transports of death, trains of indignity, no way out, the end of the line is the end. And the war went on. Kennedy is dead, someone shouted, then we heard which one. So LBJ quit, Democrats chose Humphrey, who lost to Nixon, and the war went on. Kissinger was the most important man in America. Nixon was re-elected. Kissinger was even more powerful, and the war went on. And if we took the word of our military leaders, more than the population of North Vietnam had been killed. We never admitted we lost the war. At Kent State, protesters who did not want to die in the jungles of Vietnam were shot dead by National Guardsmen, who probably went to Vietnam and were shot there, perhaps by friendly fire. And the war went on. Abandoned by our allies, the news reported what happened, but never reported we lost the war. This one is called The Dead Refused Us. The dead refused us first. Then the army said, we want you. The dead said, join the Navy. We didn't see the world or even America. Larry sat in San Diego typing names and I at Newport. The dead said, good job. You don't want to be here with us. We thank the dead. Served our time like prisoners, following orders, recording the deaths of others. Then I mentioned Kent State before, so maybe you remember the photograph of that. So it's called Kent State photo. She is frozen in time, kneeling on one knee, arms spread as if pleading for life. The body lies face down in front of her with no feeling, drained of life. Her face shows agony of disbelief that a soldier of her country could kill a fellow citizen. Passing ships. It really happened this way. I was hurrying through one of JFK's terminals to catch an overseas flight, and there he was, Woody Allen, in a gray herringbone sports jacket with a leather patch on each elbow, wearing a red flannel shirt, sneakers, and a pair of rectangular glasses, looking right at me. There I was, not 10 feet away, in my herringbone sports jacket, with a leather patch on each elbow, wearing a red flannel shirt, sneakers, and my rectangular glasses, as I stared in disbelief, and he looking at me, probably already thinking of a movie, and me already 20 feet past him, knowing I would not be in that movie.